Hello again. Let's continue our lesson, and this part has something to do with grammar. This is me, your teacher Mahmoud. It is grammar that has something to do with this point 5, and but this one also quite easy and maybe somehow interesting, and it has something to do with that passage, our passage of cooperative society. But today we will see something we will call comparative. Comparative is the word comes from compare. And when I say compare, that means there are two things competing, two competing things to see which one is better or worse, or taller or shorter or such things. And superlative. Superlative also has got a similar meaning to comparative, but in a competition, in case of superlatives, there are more than two. So if there are three things, we compare with them using the superlative form, and if there are two things, we use comparative. It comes from compare or comparison. And when it comes to comparative and superlative in English language, this one we do use adjectives to compare. We use what? We use adjectives to make comparison between two things or more than two things. We use adjectives in English. But adjectives in English are divided into three basic groups. Number one, or number A, I will call regular adjectives. These regular adjectives have different form of the other kinds of adjectives which we are going to talk about later when we finish this part. So when we say adjective, an adjective in English has a comparative form and superlative form. This one, let me say once again that we call them regular adjective. And when we say regular, something well known for everyone, the opposite of it is going to be irregular. So regular adjectives like clean and young and neat, etc. A lot of them, when I say etc, means there are other examples. We don't have the time or space for that. But these kinds of adjectives, clean, young, neat, and other, we call them regular adjectives. How are they regular? If you want to make a comparative and superlative, they have a different forms than other kind or other groups or classes of adjectives in English. So, say one again, we will have adjective, but when I say comparative, means between two, superlative more than two, maybe three and more. So adjective, only one thing I can say it's clean. But if there are two things competing on this adjective, I can say this one is cleaner than the other. So the adjective clean, yes, I have added ER at the end. Clean becomes cleaner than if there are only two things compared. So I can say there is a kitchen and a bedroom, but the bedroom is clean. The kitchen is clean, but the bedroom is cleaner than kitchen. Of course, it is a comparative form because there are only two things used. But also the same adjective, if there are more than two things, we call this form superlative. So if there is a kitchen clean, and a clean bedroom, and a clean dining room, I can say dining room is clean. Kitchen is cleaner than dining room, but bedroom is the cleanest. The same adjective, but we add at the end est. But don't forget to use the cleanest if there are more than two. Things cleaner than if there are only two things, and we call this one as a comparative. The same thing we can say young. So younger than if there are only two things. The youngest is the superlative form if there are more than two things. We have neat, neater than, the neatest, So these kinds of adjectives, we call them regular adjectives because they all agree to accept er at the end plus than in case of in form of a comparative between two things. But when it comes to superlative, both or all of them accept that at the beginning and use the same, the same spelling of that adjective but to add est. So young, younger than the youngest, neater than the neatest. That's why they all agree. Er at the end, est at the end, than and that. Don't forget to deal with them. These kinds of adjectives, we call them regular adjectives. Let's go ahead. Number B, which is the other paragraph or other group of adjective, it is another class. We call them irregular adjective. And when I say irregular, it is just the opposite of regular. Maybe they accept a formal or the same rules, but this one is not. So the same or the particular certain rules and forms here are not used. That's why we call them irregular adjectives. These irregular adjectives are limited. Over there, when I say regular adjective, I just said etc. But here, these ones are limited. We have good or well, bad, fair, old, and this old can be only for people. Because the old, which is used for things considered to be regular, we can say old, older than the oldest. But this one, if old describes people, we consider it as irregular. And these are only five adjectives, and you can add little and money. All of them are 7, they are limited, can be kept by her. That's why, and then so as to deal with them well. So this irregular adjective, also the same thing. The adjective form, the comparative form, the superlative form. Just more enough space, you can write that once again. But make sure that these forms, we consider them adjective form, and this column belongs to that one, comparative between two things, and this column, the last one, it is superlative. Superlative, the same thing. So we have adjective column, comparative column, and superlative column, even though we have different kind of adjective, regular adjective and irregular adjective. This irregular adjective, if you want to get the comparative form, it's going to be different. Even the spelling of word will change totally. That's why we call them irregular adjective. So good or well, if you want to compare between two things, you can say better than. To get the superlative form between more than two, you can say the best. So if you look even at the morphology of the word, even the spelling, good and well, has nothing to do with better than and the best in case of spelling. But according to the meaning, yes, good and well, better than the best. So I can say education is good, and healthcare is better than education because it is comparative between two things. Healthcare is better than education, but peace and stability is the best. When I say the best, it is superlative form, and so on. It is different. It is not that one to add er or est at the end. But on the thing, but we have words than. Dot here for them, yes, I didn't want to repeat it. But between two things, worse than, more than two things, superlative form, the worst, the worst. So I can say poverty is bad, illiteracy is worse than poverty, but war is the worst, More than two things, only two things, only one thing. But these ones are limited, only 7 words. These are 5 of them. Far, it's clear, which is used for distance and sometimes for degree, but also considered to be irregular. Far, further than the furthest. So if there are only one place, I can say far. 2 places, one is further than other. 3 places, the last one is the furthest. So that dot for that is quite important when it comes to superlative form. Alt. This alt, let me say once again, or accentuate that it is only for people, not for the things. So for the people we say old, but elder than, not older than, which you consider to be regular. For people we say John is old, Peter is elder than John, but Mary is the eldest. So anyway, these 5 adjectives plus little and money, we call them irregular adjective, and they are limited. Only certain words we call them irregular, all the other adjectives considered to be regular adjective. So a big difference between regular and irregular when it comes to comparative form and superlative. Comparative if you want to compare between 2 things, superlative if you want to compare between more than 2. Let's go to the final part, which is multi-part adjectives. Wow, this is another kind of adjective, and it is the last one. We call it multi-part. When I say multi, it means many, more than one part adjective. And when I say more than one, that means it includes either suffix or prefix. There is not only one root word like killing and yan. No, here we have multi-part adjectives, and they are somehow long and a lot of letters there because it has more than one part, more than one basic part. We call them multi-part adjective, but also these multi-part adjectives have adjective form, comparative form, and superlative form. This I didn't want to repeat that here again, but also remember that this one is for adjective, this column for comparative between 2 things, this column for superlative between more than 2. So this adjective we have attractive, beautiful, careful, as everyone see. There are a lot of them, of course, not only these 3, but these one as samples. So the verb, the original verb is attract plus IVE. So it becomes attractive. So there is more than one part. IVE is a part, which is suffix, and attract is a verb. We put them together, it becomes attractive, so we call it multi-part adjective. It is a very long, by the way, and it has a different way of regular and irregular adjectives when it comes to comparative and superlative. We have beautiful. We have beauty is a noun, but we add FUL at the end, it becomes beautiful. That means this one is a part, which is suffix, and the verb beauty, TY, is a noun. We change them to become an adjective, which is multi-part adjective, and of course will have a different form. Careful, we have care plus full, and so on. Important, necessary, unnecessary, traditional, national, a lot of adjectives which have more than one part. We call them multi-part adjective. And when it comes to comparative and superlatives, they are going to be or to have different form. So attractive, only one thing. If there are 2 things, which we call it comparative form, more attractive than. So those adjectives, attractive, beautiful, careful, or multi-part adjective, are written. They never change. It is a spelling. But at the beginning you say more, at the end you say than. So attractive, more attractive than, beautiful, more beautiful than, careful, more careful than. This one when it comes to comparative between 2 things. When it comes to superlative between more than 2, you can't say the most attractive. The most, that more become most. The most beautiful, the most careful, and so on. So if there are Jane and Mary and Angelica, these are women. So I can't say Angelica is attractive, but Jane is more attractive than Angelica, but Jane is the most attractive, and so on. Beautiful and careful. So the drivers are careful, teachers are more careful than drivers, but the doctors are the most careful. That's all about comparative and superlative in English. But before last, there is exercise B on page 11 has something to do with comparative and superlative. Please go back, read it carefully, and do it in order to make sure that you understood this lesson well. It's not only that, but also page 14. Page 14, for reasons that I didn't write it. Go to page 14, and there are two exercises. Number 3 and number 4 has something to do with the present simple tense, and I think this lesson was taught before 3 days ago. So go and check it, try to read. Thank you. That's all.